All right, go ahead, Tyler. What do you got?
All right, we know that Brian Flores presents a very tough challenge to any opposing offense, and this Vikings defense, some of the numbers on them, they blitz at a 50.5% rate. So about half the time they are blitzing. That is by far and away the most in the NFL. And on top of that, they have only played man 74 snaps this season. The fewest in the entire NFL as well. How would you attack this Brian Flores defense?
And they're really good against the run, aren't they?
They're the number one rush defense.
But you still have to run.
Yeah.
You cannot give, and I don't think Thomas Brown is going to give up against
No,
them.
they won't. Listen, they're really, really good, but there's plays to be made. If you watch the Titans film, Titans threw a 98-yard touchdown pass. There were other plays in that game that Will Levis was able to make and some that he missed. But there will be plays to be made. Just, I would say the same thing, Tyler. Worry about yourself. Play fast. Be smart.
Get the ball out quick.
Get the ball out quick. 1, 2, 3, ball out. If there's nobody open, tuck and run. Limit your negative plays. The last thing you want to do is allow this team to pin their ears back and come after you when you're 1st and 17 or you're 2nd and 22. So you got to limit your negative plays.
And you could, like you said this, I think, to me too. Why not a couple of early deep shots?
Sure, absolutely.
Why not a couple of early deep shots? Give Rome a chance.
Absolutely.
They have not done that a lot, especially early in a game.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I think you got to worry about yourself first and foremost. That is interesting, though. I asked you, earlier in the week, I am usually when you're blitzing that frequently, you're playing man coverage. The amount of blitzing that they do with zone coverage behind them, that's odd. It really is.
And we've heard the stat, too, about how good they are. I think they've scored over 80 points in the first quarter. The Bears have scored 13 points in the first quarter total. They have yet to have a first quarter lead. The importance of getting off to a good start. And then I believe if you're right there in that first quarter, the Bears will win.
Yeah.
If they don't dig themselves a hole and they could get some confidence early with the offense, they usually thrive. He's played very little this season with a lead. When he does have the lead, his numbers are astronomical. So can you get out and score early and at least take a lead?
There will be chances, too. If you think about it, just walk yourself through it. They're going to blitz, but they're going to play zone behind it. Well, what does that mean? It's not going to be a cloudy look for your quarterback other than the front of him. If you're playing zone, there's going to be holes in the zone. So you're going to know where some of those holes are going to be. So you're not going to have to be like spot on 100% as accurate as you would have to be if they were playing man.
You mentioned the way people have blitzed them is with press man.
Yes, and they force you to hold the ball and then be tremendously accurate. But if they're playing zone behind it, there will be some holes. So you're still going to have the opportunity to hit some of these quick throws and take what the defense has given you. So I would say same game plan. And also get in and out of the huddle quick because they're going to show you things. What Brian Flores likes to do is shows your quarterbacks a ton of stuff and then doesn't allow you to process things because he's going to bring the blitz. But if you get to the line of scrimmage with time and you're not rushing, then you can survey some stuff and maybe kind of gather yourself. So,
all right, last week we saw an increased role for Roschon Johnson. He had 10 carries last week. DeAndre Swift had 14, and then Caleb Williams himself ran another 9 times. When you look at how this running game could be different under Thomas Brown, how would you divvy up the carries between Roschon and DeAndre Swift going up against the number 1 rushing defense in football?
I like balance. I like featuring 2 guys. I like keeping guys fresh. And then I like playing the hot hand then when you can. But I don't believe in just bringing in Roschon when I've said this a lot this week, on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or at the goal line. I think you're limiting him and you're not allowing him to get into a rhythm of an offense. Give him a couple of series early and let him be a true running back, and he's better in protection too.
I think you're going to split it up a lot more than what would normally happen anyway because Swift is dealing with an injury. So that will, I would
groin.
think, necessitate
Full
that you're
participant in practice today, but you're right.
yeah, but
Yeah,
still.
and it's cold.
And I think what you have to do, I agree with you. You can't bring him in predictable situations.
Yes.
Just short yardage, obvious passing downs because you're going to keep him into max protect. So, and that's one of the things I think Thomas Brown did to help them is they were less predictable with some of their formations and how they did stuff. So, if you split up the carries fairly even, then you're not going to be as predictable. So, I think at the end of the day, you gave DeAndre Swift $8 million. He's going to get more activity, but I think you should amp up what you're asking Roschon to do as well.
I last year his growth was stunted and early this year because of injuries, right?
Yeah.
He had the concussion problem. This year he had injuries early. So now that he's healthy and now that he's got some games behind him, play him. And again, I'm not asking for him to be the number one back. I understand what his role is, but I think you have to give him opportunities in series to establish himself as a running back.
Well, and also, if you're looking for firm protection, you're not going to get it from DeAndre Swift. You're going to get it from when you go max protect. There was a great example of this on the 2-minute drive, on the out route that he threw to Keenan Allen. He kept Cole Kmet in and he kept Roschon Johnson in. Cole Kmet took one of the blitzing safeties and Roschon took the other blitzing safety to create a really sound pocket. So, I mean, there's no question who's the better back in pass protection. So I think that would necessitate him getting more snaps.
All right, on the other side of the ball, Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in all of football, is going to have a matchup. Again, they move Justin Jefferson all around the formations, but he will at times be matched up on Jalen Johnson, one of the top cover corners in the league. Justin Jefferson's prop for receiving yards in this game is 82.5, over or under on 82.5 receiving yards for Justin Jefferson.
What a great question, Tyler. Look.
I'd go over. I think he's going to get his.
Yeah, and I think the Packers moved the ball against them last week. They gathered up some yards. The Bears haven't broken in the red zone as being the number one red zone defense.
And think about it. I think Jalen Johnson's their best player at this point overall, regardless of position. You can't ask even one of the top 3 or 4 corners in the league to guard somebody for 5 seconds, much less that guy be the best receiver in the league. So without a consistent pass rush, you're just asking him to do stuff that most guys aren't asked to do. So I guess the point I'm making is at some point when they don't get home and they don't force Sam Darnold into a mistake, Justin Jefferson's going to be open at some point in this game, and I think that they make a good point of trying to get it to him. So you could still beat this Vikings team even if Justin Jefferson has 95 yards receiving.
If you've not watched Wide Receiver, we were just talking about what to watch for. Wide Receiver on Netflix after the quarterback series first came out. You will like Justin Jefferson even more as a person after you watch Wide Receiver. I allowed my kids to wear a Justin Jefferson jersey because of the player, not because of the team. He's one of my favorite athletes.
Yeah.
Like if I would have a top 10, top 15 athletes in sports today, on any team, Justin Jefferson is on my list.
Usually your best players in the league are like him. They're your hardest workers, not just your most talented guys. You're the hardest workers and guys who have a true passion for the game.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to describe that kid.
Yeah, he seems like one of those guys who's super cool and super out there, but also super down to earth.
And super dedicated to his
For sure.
craft.
Mm-hmm. So the Vikings are one of the teams that are arguably the biggest overperformers in the NFL this year, sitting at 8-2. They came in with a win total of 6.5. They've cleared that easily and certainly have some wins to go here. Not just that, but you've knocked out some impressive wins early in the season against what you thought would be some of the toughest opponents you would face all season with the Niners and the Texans. You played the Lions about as close as any team has played the Lions all season long. As you look forward and into the playoffs, it feels like the Vikings are a lock to get there. What is the ceiling that you would put on this Vikings team?
That.
One and done?
I think Sam Darnold.
Maybe one win.
I think Darnold limits your ceiling a little bit. I admire what he's done, but when you get to the postseason, your quarterback's got to be special most times. I don't think they run the ball well enough to protect him, too. Like, if they were a team that ran the ball, Like the Packers are the number 3 running team in the league. If he had that running game to take some pressure off of him, I think they would have more traction. But I think at the end of the day, Sam Darnold has had a really good year, but he still has a ceiling.
Would you rather be the Eagles or the Vikings?
Rather be the Eagles.
Would you rather be the Lions or the Vikings?
Lions.
Packers or the Vikings?
That one's close.
I still think the Packers.
I would probably as well. Sooner or later, Jordan Love's going to get it through his head that he can't make stupid mistakes the way he did against the Bears.
But some things with Jordan Love aren't decision errors; they're physical errors.
That's fair.
No, maybe they could be this year's Bucks. Could they be this year's Bucks? Where the Bucks, especially like what a good story Baker Mayfield was, and then he goes out and he wins a playoff game, and they had a good game against Detroit, didn't they? Was it fairly close against Detroit?
Yes, I believe it was.
Look, I think it would probably take the Vikings over this version of the Packers at this point, because the Packers are mistake prone.
They are,
and they haven't shown that they're able to eliminate that stuff.
And it's not just Jordan Love.
No, they commit penalties, they drop passes, and
the coach made some mistakes.
Made some mistakes.
That's the one thing. Like when you brought up your NFC North question, which coach in the NFC North would you take? I would take O'Connell over LaFleur because we've seen just some basic football math issues
that LaFleur
has that I don't feel like we see with Kevin O'Connell.
I thought there were some issues last year with time management with O'Connell.
With O'Connell?
Yes. Now, again, even we used to give Andy Reid hell for his time management. So, I mean, these guys aren't going to be perfect. You just got to get it right significantly more times than you don't. But I think both teams are very happy with who they have at the front step.
Real quick, one more. Daniel Jones was released today. He's expected to clear waivers because of the contract that he has. Is there a team that you have eyeballed out there that makes the most sense for Daniel Jones? Because I'm assuming he'll be picked up before the end of the year.
I think San Francisco, especially if Purdy is banged up. His shoulder, he's out this week. So shoulder injuries for which shoulder? It's his right shoulder, correct?
I believe it's
throwing
so.
shoulder.
Yeah,
throwing shoulders. I mean, those tend to not heal really quick. So why not?
I'm trying to think who else.
Dual threat.
Yeah. That's a good spot for him. If anybody can fix him,
Dallas with no Dak, but. Who else is going to do it? Like, give him a tryout?
Would you look, if you're the Vikings, would you think about it?
Who's their backup at this point?
I have to
Nick
look.
Mullins? Or is that the guy who's doing, I keep saying Nick Mullins, and I keep finding
it
out.
It is Nick Mullins,
It is, yeah.
And they've got Brett Rippon, too.
Oh.
What about Miami?
I thought about that, too.
I was going to say Miami as well.
Because if they still have a shot at making the playoffs, don't they?
They're 4-6.
Yeah, they have a shot.
But like, and if Tua goes down, you saw how bad they are when Tua's not in there. And if they've got a guy who at least is capable to run his offense.
Like Daniel Jones, say what you want about him, he'd be one of the, 2-3 best backup quarterbacks in the league.
So maybe like a team would take him as their backup, where it wouldn't be, they have a chance to still do something in the postseason.
Yeah.
If they've got a good coach.
I was thinking Miami as well. Interesting, though.
Okay, there you go, Aki's A-List. We'll crosstalk with Bleck. Coming up next, we're at 115 Bourbon Street. We're giving away Bears tickets coming up